Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to all who signed up for this webinar today and allowing us to review Reftab with you all. For those watching this at a later time, thank you for watching this video and your interest in Reftab. Today is January 22nd, 2025, and my name is James, and this is the Reftab Webinar 101, Information Technology Focused. Along with myself, we also have Will from our Customer Success team, and we'll be answering questions, providing helpful links in chat. If you do have any questions, please use the chat feature for this webinar. This webinar marks the first in 2025 in our new series designed to educate and engage both new and existing customers to Reftab. So what is Reftab? Reftab is a cloud-based SaaS platform designed for asset tracking, accessible from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. Reftab is an easy-to-use platform that is fully customizable to track and manage IT equipment, accessories, and software licenses. Reftab keeps you informed of what you own, where it is, and when it may need attention. In this webinar, we'll be focusing on the following. The assets table. We'll be going to provide an in-depth look at the assets table, customizing categories and best practices when adding assets. We'll be talking about taking back control of your assets, knowing where your assets are at all times. We'll discover ways for Reftab to solve questions about your assets with use of custom fields. We'll discuss asset tagging and using Reftab's mobile apps to check out assets, and discuss the checkout process and custody verifications for your assets. Next, we'll be discussing accessory and consumables and what is an accessory and how is it different from an asset. And we'll go through the key differences and how you should be tracking accessories. Next, we'll be talking about our software licenses. So in our new SaaS discovery feature, we can automate review benefits of license tracking, but we'll also discuss a brand new feature in which you can track installed software on your computer if you're using specific integrations. We'll always talking about our reservation portal. We'll discuss the portal, what covers needed for access role for the portal, and review some best practices when granting access and some of the best options for loan settings. And then also Reftab integrations. Our goal here at Reftab is to automate as much as possible. So provide insight of how you can connect your existing platforms to Reftab and automate your user, employees, and your assets. And then finally, of course, we'll do a deep dive into reports. We'll create your first report, review some others, and discuss the features of reporting, and of course, the useful, helpful documentation and links provided inside the webinar as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in and begin. Let's do it. So here we are logged into Reftab. What I do recommend, if you go ahead and add yourself as a bookmark for your Reftab account, so have this available at any time, so you can access to that very, very easy, very, very simply from your web browser. So here we are. So what are assets? An asset is any resource, tangible or intangible, that provides a value to the terms of organization of IT technology. For examples include any type of mobile devices and Chromebooks and desktops and laptops and switchers and printers and much, much more. So what we're going to do here, we're going to start over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to talk about what these things are called asset categories. Now, you can have unlimited number of categories inside of your account. Sky's the limit. And then once you have those built, what you want to do is create your custom fields, and we'll go through and talk about those. So found over here in the upper right-hand side, we'll go into asset categories. And of course, you can create your new categories, but we'll use laptop PCs as kind of our guinea pig here for today. So we have multiple different ways of types of fields that you can create for your categories, including text fields and list fields and date fields and geolocation, popular list fields, monetary and asset fields as well. And some good examples of this is a good example of a text field. We'll cancel that. Edit here is a service tag or something that's going to be unique across each of the PCs. So we also have options for required field and or a new duplicates field option as well for simply more configurability across your individual fields. Another great field is a pre-populated text field. Let me show you an example of that. And this is really, really great thing if you want to only have select number of answers for those specific types of fields. And that's all part of comes down to that data normalization. It's a great process of organize your data in a database to make it more consistent, accurate, and easy to work with. So be sure to think about using pre-populated fields. So the goals, of course, when you're creation of your assets, or creation of your categories in an application like Reftab, one of the things I always suggest people to think about is that what field or what information do you want to know about your assets? So, for example, date purchased, for example, is a really, really great field. Or warranty start dates or warranty expiration dates are all great fields as well. Also available connected with our integrations, with our Dell and Lenovo integrations to automatically populate that information as well. Some other great fields, of course, is the all the types of brands and models and screen sizes and hard drive sizes. And like I said, with all this information that you have available, you can use the Reftab reporting module, and we'll talk about here at the very end of our webinar, where you can go and grab all that information and get that information outside the system very, very quickly. So that's all about categories. So let's go back into assets here. And I'm going to go into my laptop PCs category, and I'm going to choose my specific laptop 04 here as one we'll be talking about here today. So the couple different things I want to chat with you about is the different ways we can add assets. So of course, we have the ability to import assets, so from CSVs and some from spreadsheets as well. And we do have helpful guides that walk you through that individual process if you have any concerns with that. But we also have the ability in order to use our integrations as well. So we have multiple different integrations we'll be talking about more in detail here in a little bit. But our MDMs like Microsoft Intune, and Jamf, and Jamf School, Google Workspaces are all simply great ways in order to get your assets inside of Reftab very, very quickly. And of course, also that CDW integration we have is also well. So if you're looking for a procurement process when you're purchasing your assets, if you can connect that to your Reftab account, all those brand new assets would flow into your Reftab account automatically. Outside of that, the other way, of course, we can do this is by adding in the assets manually. So what I want to do real briefly here is talk about the 4 fields that are really required or necessary when you create brand new assets. So the very first one is a category. For example, I'm going to choose laptop PCs, for example. However, all the categories that you built in turn, you could choose them as you build out new assets. You can go ahead and give it a specific title. But we also have the ability to create prefixes for our asset IDs, which are going to be our unique identifiers for each and every single asset that you have. We also have the ability to create our own ID codes and that type of stuff as well, all part of their settings to set up your brand new assets. And then last option that we have here, of course, is ability to set to a specific location. And we'll be talking about here in locations in a little bit, but ultimately it's all about where your assets begin. And of course, as you're checked or reserved out, they can be moved to different locations and so forth. And then with that, once you choose your category, all those specific fields will show up based upon the category that you create. And of course, any custom fields that are required would have a little asterisk, and all that information would need to be filled out with that. So that's a good example of adding an asset. All right, let's go back to my laptop PCs real quickly here, and we'll go back into number 4. All right. So once again, all about that asset ID, right? That's going to be that unique identifier that we have for each and every single asset, and that's how we bill here at Reftab. But also, this is a great way in order to prevent duplicates. But also, we have the ability to create printing of asset tags as well. So we have this great little editor that you can create yourself barcodes or QR codes and different styles of sheets. You can add images and all sorts of other things. But here's an example of a QR code that I created for my assets, which in turn I can go and print off and in turn add them to my assets. So we can always use that information going forward to scan in and scan out those specific assets. Then along with that, we also have a fully functional mobile application available on Android and iOS that you could use those barcodes, scan real quickly. For example, here's a MacBook Pro with all those custom fields and data information all associated with that. And we have that option to check out and to associate to a loanee or a person who we're going to be assigning the asset out to. We go through that process and we could go ahead and check that out. And all right from the mobile application as well. So what's great about the Reftab system is that you don't need to be necessarily in front of a computer in order to do your work. You can also do most of your work using that mobile applications. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to go through the process of the reserve and checkout process. So found over here in the upper right-hand side, we got this Dell laptop, or we can go and check it out. So we do have the reserve option. Of course, reserve is setting up for future types of events. Also, we have recurring features as well regarding reservations. But we can go through the checkout process, and all that we need to do to check this out is assign this to a specific person. You'll notice that Bobby's information show up here on the left-hand side, and currently Bobby doesn't have any current loans. Over here on the right-hand side, we have the ability to set up return dates if we wanted to, but we also have the ability to set up indefinite loans as well. In essence, that meaning that this asset will belong to this person as long as they're with the company. And then if they leave the company, then in turn, that asset would have to be returned. But that's a good example of an indefinite loan. Along with that, we also have the ability to drop in some additional loan notes change it to a specific location if we wanted to. And of course, the real takeaways is the fact that we can create our own custom fields for our loans. So let's say, for example, you want to track maybe where your assets are going, home or an office location, or maybe how they were shipped with, or maybe a specific project or just a specific department that they go to. All great things that you could do with that loan out process. So I'm going to do a checkout here, and the next thing that pops up here is an agreement form. Now, what's great, everybody, is that this form can be set per category of assets. So your laptops might be a little bit different from your access points for that type of stuff, right? But ultimately, what we're doing is here we're asking that person who's going to be receiving this loan to acknowledge and agree to the following terms and conditions that we set forth, and in turn, which they can go ahead and sign off on. Now, if this person is not here, in order to check this equipment out, we can go ahead and email that specific person. They'll receive an email in their inbox. They open up, they'll receive this agreement statement, and of course, go ahead and sign off on that. Once they do that, now that loan has been is now a checked out state. And over here in the upper right hand side, we now capture that signature, and of course, any of those custom fields, those notations would be associated with that individual loan. Now, what's great here down here at the bottom of the screen is that we have a loan history. So for each and every single asset ID that you have, you'll have a loan history. So you know who the loanee is, the loan ID, who is checked out, date and time, who is done by, who is returned by, and all that information is available to you as well. So you remember that agreement that we just signed? Well, guess what? We also have the ability to set this up in a PDF version as well. Once again, fully customizable with your logos and agreements and all that type of stuff. You can always go back here at any time at the asset level to find that information in that specific agreement form. Another great feature that we have available here at Reftab is we have this thing called request custody verification. And basically what this allows us to send an email to the loanee and asking them for two things. One, what is the condition of the asset, but more importantly, if they have that asset as well. So a couple of great features with that. So let's go through that together. So what we can do, we can click on that. We can go ahead and put in a due date if we wanted to. We can add some additional notes, and we go ahead and send an email off to Bobby. Bobby get to open up an email as inbox. Once again, fully customizable with your logos and colors, and of course, this information here. We got that in possession. Yes. What's that condition of the asset? Good, damaged, broken, or other. I can add notes. Looks good. Bobby can go and sign off on it. And now that asset has been verified. So this is a really, really great feature, especially in the IT world. Once you get your assets in, you get them signed out, maybe some time goes by, and you simply want to do a quick and simple auditing in a way, or other options just to verify they actually have those assets and those conditions. So definitely think about using that custody verification. All right, so before we move on to other options, let's go into assets real quickly, and we'll talk about some great features that we have associated with this, or some functionality wise. So found here in the upper left-hand type of the screen, here's where all those custom fields that you created for your assets, in turn, you can find and search based upon your keywords or data values to find those specific assets quickly. Here we have a create new option where here you can create your new assets and other types of things in the system. And then inside of the view itself here, we have the label group options. We have status label options that you create, or basically tagging of your individual assets. And of course, if those the loan status, if they're checked in or checked out, and some other great ways in order to filter it out by specific locations if we wanted to. And of course, those custom fields. Let's say we want to do a brand search and we want to find all the Dell assets that we have. We could do a simple search like that, and that's going to find all my laptops and my monitors, my desktops and docking stations, and anything is basically with that value of Dell. Then lastly, we also have filter by dates available and end dates available based upon those reservations if you plan on using that as well. So all great features to find your assets quickly. Over here on the right-hand side, real quick, columns to display. So we have default fields that are those here, but we also have all those custom fields that we talked about. So if you want to include those custom fields as part of your list view of your assets, for example, we've added brand would show up right here as well. And then along with that, all of the column headers, you can sort up and down, or A to Z or Z to A with that. And of course, you also have the ability to move your column headers to different locations as part of where you want to show that. So all very, very customizable with that. A couple additional quick things is we also have the ability to show the page size. So if you have many, many items, you can switch this to see them all in one individual view. And then last, we also have this great bulk actions option. So let me go back into my laptops here. So simply, here's a great way once to, for example, you have it in your individual category, you want to update information all at one time. You can select multiple assets at one time, go into edit, and then from here, you can do status label updates or any type of field changes as well, all in bulk, and also have the ability to add images associated with those specific assets. Now, if you're checking in items or checking out items in bulk, you could do the same things like that. For example, that's a check-in, and we'll go into available one. There's also options to check out as well. And we also have great features that if you wanted to check availability using our NAT report or NAT calendar view, which is really a great tool as well to example, for give you some information about if those assets are available during a specific time. As well. And then once as well, we also have that ability to use bulk custody verification in bulk version as well, right all from the asset screen. So that's all the assets, what we want to go through and talk about today. All right, let's keep going. So next is locations. Locations is basically a 3-tier hierarchy system that kind of gives you a little bit of a dashboard to understanding what your Reftab account is all about. So found here in the upper top, you got any type of due assets today, reservations today, locations, accessories, loans, and sub-accounts. And if you're using QR codes or scanning individual assets, you can also, those recent scans will show up here over here on the right-hand side. But about locations themselves, what we can do is we can click on Add Location, and it's really basically, you know, we get 6 or 7 fields here of information that you could fill up, but we also got a primary email address field. Now, if you're using workflow automation here in Reftab, basically what this means is that you can set this up so as long, if, for example, your assets has been checked in or out of this specific location, you can have an email automatically go to maybe like a manager or somebody who is overseeing that specific location. So simply really great ways for more about automation. Let's go into a tour location here and break it down. And what we do is that when we go into that specific location, we can click on all assets and see all the specific assets assigned to that location. And in turn, we can run reports and all our great stuff using location-specific information. So definitely check that out as well. All right, let's go into accessories and consumables. So what are they? So Reftab allows you to track of items that you have large quantity of. Think of accessories are interchangeable items. We don't necessarily care on which specific item as long as one is checked or assigned. So think of things like cable or mice or keyboards or headsets or camera covers, and accessories can be added to individual assets or assigned to loanees. And remember, you can have unlimited number of accessories as well. So just like the assets over here on the left-hand side, we can create categories of assets. For example, cables and camera covers and cleaning equipment and keyboards and all that type of stuff. But we also have the ability to create custom transactions for our individual accessories. We have the ability to create custom fields. And you notice I created a custom field called purchase cost per unit. And for example, that shows up right here. And with that, of course, we also have the ability to import accessories through CSV options. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Let me go back to that. And of course, the ways to add accessories, we have multiple different things. We have accessory types, like a keyboard, for example, basically an item that you can loan out to someone, but ultimately want returned back. And then the flip side of that would be a consumable, an item that is actually do a transfer or agreement to that specific person, but that actually item is then used, is not returned back to the company, and so that would be a consumable. Along with that, we also have quantity alert options and email alert options, for example, that you can set up per individual accessory. And in essence, meaning that you maybe start off with 50, but you get down to 5, you can have an email be sent out, for example, to that specific email address. So those options available as part of accessories. As I mentioned, we have those minimum quantity and available options that are stored right here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up this Logitech 750 and it kind of give you an overview of what a specific accessory looks like and all the details and information. We can also use barcodes or QR codes along with our accessories as well. Over here on the right-hand side, we have a number available and a number of total quantity. And of course, the options for checkout, reserve, and all that options are available. So let's do a checkout. And we're going to do 1 here. And I'm going to choose our friend Bobby. We have those same loan options that we available as our asset level. We can assign that out. But what's also great with accessories, everybody, is that we can add them to assets as well. So as that asset's been checked out, that in turn, that individual accessory would be checked out as well. So let's go ahead and back here to our Loanee, and I'm going to click on Assign to Loanee and close that out. And we go back to our screen and we notice that now Bobby has a copy of his Logitech 750. So we can go back and look at our Loanees and review all that information when we take a look at that. So yeah, that's accessories and consumables in a nutshell. Simply a really, really great way to track those types of items in your individual Reftab account. And once again, you can have unlimited number of accessories and consumables. All right, let's go into licenses. So are you looking to track software licenses? So in Reftab, we can also track license keys for multiple different types of software. We can also track an unlimited amount of these items and assign them to assets and loanees or borrowers. But we also have a lot of other great features I want to walk you through today that in the IT world can really, really give you that edge to give you in that understanding of how many licenses you have, who they're tracking to, who they're assigned to, and all that type of stuff as well. So as I mentioned before, we do have custom field options that we can create for our individual licenses that we can set up. And then, of course, we have the CSV import options to add our licenses, but we'll talk about add licenses now. But here are a couple different things. One is we have the ability to add them in manually, which we'll talk about our Zoom license like this. But we also have a couple integrations that are, if you use an identity provider through Microsoft Entra or Okta, you can connect this in order to start tracking SaaS discovery licenses through those identity providers. So I'm going to hop into a different account real quickly here. And I'm going to licenses, and I'm going to show you one here that we have are connected. Now, we use Okta here at Reftab in order to connect through a single sign-on, and we're using a Tableau as an example of what we're connecting with. And basically, once you get this fully integrated with your account, your identity provider will start tracking all those software that's out there and tracking when people start using them, when is that first time they use them, but more importantly, the number of logins that they have, right? Now, this can be set. We've also got a bar graph showing you how many seats available, total seats, and your usage here, which is all configurable per your individual license. Now, along with the licenses in general, if you use our integrations or if you add them in manually, but we also have the ability to send out surveys as well. So think of surveys as kind of like custody verification that for assets, but we have that for licenses, right? So this is a really, really great feature, something we just implemented in our system a few months back, which gives you more detail and more information about if your employees are using your licenses effectively and if there's any way for you to save a little bit of money. So we have that first question there says, are you using that software? And if a person says no, and you're using the prices, the cost per license, we also have that ability to give you some potential saving options that are associated with that. So that's just one way about using that integrations, like I said, through Entra or Okta in order to connect that information through a identity provider. The other great tool that we have here is that we have the ability to also track software licenses that are actually on the machine itself. So I'm going to go and open up the specific laptop that we have this example here and give us a couple seconds. And here we go. We got this Michael's MacBook Air here. Now down here at the bottom, we got this licenses and software option. So if you are using Jamf or Microsoft Intune and connecting that with the Reftab system, this will automatically start pulling in the licenses and software installed applications on that specific machine, and in turn start giving you some information about common vulnerabilities and exposures information, just making sure that your employees and that your machines are fully up to date. For example, here's a Visual Code Studio. We can click on this link, and this will take you to Department of Homeland Security information, give you some updates and information about that specific vulnerability. So simply a really, really great tool in order to keep you up to date while all the software that is installed on the machines. Like I said, if you're using Jamf or Microsoft Intune while you're connecting with Reftab. So let's go back into the my other account here and back to licenses. And I'm gonna once again talk about the simple Zoom license that I talked with you about before. And just like with accessories, of course, we have available seats and total seats and minimum seats that we can set up as well, and have a email notification to be sent out if we are using up all those seats. And of course, we also have options for expiration dates that you can set up as well. And a really, really great features to let you know that, hey, an upcoming update, if something's going on, send me an email. Let me know that, hey, we got an upcoming expiration date for our specific license. So I'm going to go and click on Zoom here. And so once again, here on the left-hand side, here's some information about that specific person. Over here on the right-hand side, we have seats available and total seats. And of course, to check out and reserve, and of course, all the information about the specific loans that are associated with that. So let's go to do a checkout here. And what we want to do is assign this to 1, and we're going to go and choose Bobby Sr. here. Once again, same loan options, just like we do with our assets and our accessories, but we also have the ability to add licenses to machines themselves. For example, you want to track Windows operating systems, right? You can create them as licenses, but then add them to assets if you wanted to do that. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to assign to Loanee, and now Zoom has been checked out. And we close that down and ensure, sure enough, Bobby has a copy of our individual Zoom. So in a nutshell, folks, that's licenses. So like I said, if you're looking for a simple way to really have some good understanding in tracking your software license to really get you that cost of savings, compliance, and efficiency of your license, are really great features that we have available to you in Reftab and all the great ways that we can connect as well. All right, let's keep on going down here. The next is that we got those reservation options, that portal we kind of talked about. Now we have those, we go through assets and we can reserve out items, and those reservations would go here. But we also got this great little portal here that you can set up as well, all part of our pro and business plans. So here's our portal. I'm logged in as my friend Bobby, the same person who we assign an assets and those licenses and accessories to. And let's say, hey, Bobby forgot to, hey, we need a monitor, for example. Well, broken down by locations, we can go in that specific location. Here are all the assets or the items that are available on this portal. We can also do kits and accessories and peripherals and software as well, all part of our portals that we can set up. But Bobby's looking for a monitor, so Bobby goes into monitors. You can see all these individual monitors. Open a specific one up, can see custom field data. Once again, all fully customizable as well, which is really, really great. You can customize your users for locations and what type of categories of assets and field details as well. But where the power comes in, and you can also give them the types of options in order to check out specific items. So let's say, for example, if you want to do reserve, you can do the reserve option there, and also we can do that checkout options as well. So we're going to do an indefinite loan for this one, and we're going to be at home. We're going to ship this to FedEx and not any notes and check out. So once again, we got that agreement form all available. Once again, set that up. You can do that available on the portal as well. Do a submit, and now that individual item has been checked out. So what's great, folks, is that your users can also go into the portal and see any current items that they have in custody and any upcoming current reservations they have then, and according to the course, any future requests as well. And then from here, they can go click on and view and edit that information. Now, we also have the ability for give your power to your users to check items back in. So this may depend on your situation or your policies that you have to do with your company, but those options are available for you with that. So that, in essence, is the Reftab portal for reservations and requests as well. Okay. So what I want to do real quick, we talk about the additional settings that we can do as part of that user portal. So that's in settings in user portal. And this is where you can kind of start that process in order to begin and set that type of account up. Here's that allow portal check-in option that you can set it turn on off. And of course, the option for portal loan settings. If you want to give them checkout, reserve only, checkout, or simply turn that off. Basically, do not give them away, but they would have to give you or reach out to say, hey, I want to check out this item, and that process can be started through another fashion. But many options are associated with that. The next thing real quickly, folks, here is the access roles. So in essence, in order to give people access to that portal, you need to give them a specific role access. Now, by default, we automatically give you 5 pre-made roles. They're called administrator, editor, viewer, disabled, and Loanee. However, there's very, very much configuration that can be done based upon the specific needs and wants of your individual users. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our admin one here, and it really breaks it down by the types of access restrictions. For example, if you want to give them access to accessories or licenses or reservation pages, all available here as well. Then here are the loan rights. What type of loaning access can they do? Can they edit loans? Can they check themselves out? But right here is where you give that portal access. So just be sure if you want to use that portal, making sure that your access roles are set to one of those two values right there. And then from that, of course, you can also configure how locations are being used, which is great because you could have maybe 5 people in one location and then 5 people in another location, or break it apart. Depends on what type of assets and what type of control that you're really, really looking for. And then, of course, you could break it down by categories, as we talked about. And of course, those fields as well. So all great features as part of the access roles associated with that user portal. All right, so let's keep on going down next to Loanees. So Loanees is going to be your single pane of glass to have some understanding of your loanees and which type of equipment are assigned to them. So starting here over the left-hand side underneath all items, this is where all of your assets, your individual accessories and licenses would all show up here. So you remember those custom fields that we talked about, and we're using those purchase cost fields for assets and accessories and licenses? Well, if you're using that and have those values filled out, we have a special setting that you can set up inside of your account in order to populate this number here. So if you're looking for a simple and effective way to find an understanding of what an individual person or a loanee has in dollar amount worth, set that up by using the individual purchase costs. And then along with the breaking down by assets, of course, we could view asset detailed information, the loan information here, and of course, a loan agreement form that we talked about can be downloaded, and of course, the options to check in, update, and send out requests for custody verifications right from here as well. Along with that, we have a loan history for our assets. So as time goes on, you might have multiple assets be associated with an individual. You can always go back and review that information. If this person has a login, they can actually update or make any changes to their Reftab account. For example, their assets and that type of stuff. They do have the ability to do a change log, which means capturing all updates and changes to any asset they individually touched. And of course, here the remaining here is the custody verifications as well, right? So in here, you can go through the asset details, the status information, verification notes, and download that PDF. Just in case there's any questions or concerns or issues, you can always go back and review that information just at any time that you see fit, as all part of Loanees. All right. So let's go into, next we'll go into settings and integrations. Let's go ahead and talk about all the integrations that are available on Reftab Business Plan and ones that be mostly effective in the IT world. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we built those 2 SaaS discovery tools for our licenses, right, for Microsoft Entra and Okta. And this is how you would set those 2 up like that. We also have SCIM user provision. So if you use an identity provider like Entra or Okta, this is simply one of the best ways in order to grid all your users in and then configure them if you just want them to be simply loanees, or if you want to give them specific type of access rights inside of their Reftab account as well. And then, of course, we have our MDMs, or our hardware, or our mobile device management system that we can connect in order to bring down our hardware, right? So we have Jamf, of course, and Jamf School has to do with Apple related devices. Google Workspace, for example, Chromebooks and other mobile devices through Google, you can be able to sync in as well. Microsoft Intune, of course, in order for all those devices you have through Microsoft Intune. And of course, we also have CDW integration, which you can connect if you're using CDW as your procurement for your new assets to automatically send new assets that are created or purchased through CDW right into your Reftab account. And of course, we also have Kanji and Meraki and Mosel are all great tools in order to get your assets in. As I mentioned to you before, when we're talking about fields, we also have the Dell warranty sync options and of course the Lenovo warranty sync options as well, in order for you to get connected to get some of that data automatically populated in, so you don't necessarily have to manually fill that information out. For example, model, ship date, hard drive, memory size, warranty start dates, and warranty end date fields are all great stuff. And have that information pulled in automatically by simply enabling and setting up those integrations instead of you manually filling that information in. So highly, highly recommend that you take a look at if you're using any of these types of integrations that we have available as well. And two, real quickly here, we also have a Zendesk and a Jira integrations are available for you as well if you want to start tracking individual tickets inside of those systems based upon that asset ID that we talked about when we went through assets. All right, so that is our integrations in a nutshell. Next, let's go on to move on and talk about reports. So as we talked about, we have all this data, right? We have assets, we have locations, we have accessories, we have licenses, we have loanees, and ultimately now we want to get all this information out of the system. So the very first thing that I really, really recommend people set up is this one called Assets from Disabled Users with Equipment Alert. Now, this, of course, has to do if you're using those integrations for your identity management, like Entra or Okta, that really control if that person is enabled or if they're a loanee or if it's disabled. And ultimately, what you want to do as a person using Reftab is to have an understanding, or if there are any people who have assets that have been checked out to them, but that person is now disabled using that identity provider. So what we've done is that we've set up a loan status is out and loan role is disabled. And we run that report, and sure enough, we have one person, Steve Rogers, who is no longer with the company, but we do have a value, almost $1,400 of an asset. So we certainly want to reach out to him and gain an understanding why that asset has not been returned back. What's great, folks, is that every single report, including this one, you can also set up to schedule report as well and set these up as an alerts. So we have multiple different options here, but ultimately we have a frequency and a date and time and send an email too, right? So if there are anyone that match this specific type of report, automatically set this out at 8 o'clock p.m. so that following day we can review and get that asset back from that no longer employed employee with the company. Another great one, I'm going to show you how to do a backup of reports. Let's click on New Report here. And what I'm typing is all assets. Oh, 1 second here, folks. There it is, a little slow here. Hang on. Do that. And then we want to do a show of assets and, of course, run that report. So this is the way to how to do a backup, just like that. And what's great is that we can configure what information is displayed in our Excel file here as we scroll through and review all this great information about we have our assets. But we can also click on select fields to display here. And what this does, this is going to give you all the default fields that in turn that you can select, but we also have asset fields that are based upon that specific category of assets, right? So we talked about maybe there's different fields for access points compared to laptop PCs, but we'll choose laptop PCs and all those fields that belong to that specific category will automatically be checked. You can be very specific and be very detailed by the depends on the types of reports that you wanted to pull out. We do a click or do a not a run report on that, and those are simply all the fields that we're looking for. Okay. All right. So what you want to do, of course, make sure you save the reports as well, and of course, set those up as scheduled. I forgot to mention, we do have a great how-to guide here as well, with all different types of reports that you can build right out from the get-go. Everything from assets to loans to loan history, maintenance, and that type of stuff, all available for you as part of our how-to guides as well. Another great report that we have available I want to show you is something called purchase cost. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a show of assets. Category is laptop PCs. And I'm going to do a quick run of this report. And of course, we got this raw data, as we talked about before, all this information and values and all that, right? But we can also go into our chart builder as well and use those custom fields that we created for our fields. They're really based upon the type of a table report that we're looking for. So we got table options, include heat maps and charts and pie charts and all kinds of good stuff there. We'll also have availability to do some sums of purchase costs, and I'm adding in those custom fields. In essence, what I've done is I built out this simple report. We have a title, asset number, and loan status and value. So we know when each one is called, we know the specific ID, We know if they're in or out as the individual loan. We know each one is worth, but more importantly, we know a grand total of all of our individual PCs. So like I said, if you're looking for an effective way to kind of get this information out of your system, using purchase costs and using our chart builder is simply a really, really great way to go to get that information out very quickly, very easily. And then simply you can go to copy to a clipboard, paste this into your email, and get that information right out the door. Very simple, very easy. All right. And of course, the last one I want to chat with you real quickly about here is something called the warranty expires next month report. So remember, we got that custom field that we talked about called the warranty expires date. Well, I got that information automatically pulling in from my Dell and Lenovo integrations. However, I want to run a report and have this up as a schedule to let me know if any upcoming warranties are about to expire for the specific assets. In the IT world, being ahead of that information, being proactive, so you can make decisions before those events individually occur, right? So what I'm doing is I'm doing an asset report, doing assets warranty expires anytime after now. We got great relative field options based upon dates. So you'll be looking for information next 12 hours, next 48, next week, last week, 2 weeks ago. You could do things like that as well. And then I'm doing a secondary line that says asset warranty expires date anytime before next month. So in essence, the next 30 days, I want to know if there are any assets are about to expire. So in turn, I can do my due diligence on them. Do a quick run of report, and sure enough, I got one asset that's MacBook Pro, and it returned the warranty expires date in next week or a little bit 2 weeks from now. So I need to be prepared and to be aware of that, so I have that information in front of me to make a decision. And maybe we need to get more further warranty, or maybe we have to make a brand new purchase based upon that, or individual policies, or what we want to do with our specific assets. We do a quick save on that. Once again, set up as a schedule report. So I'll let the system do that for you. No sense of you logging in and running these reports. Let that system do it for you. It's all part of our automations here at Reftab to make this very simple and very easy to set this up and basically set up and forget it. So once again, we're set up frequency, date and time, and send an email address. So once again, any queries that match that data, that automatically be sent to that information to be sent out. So that's it with reports as well. So we covered a lot today inside of this webinar. We talked about assets and really breaking them down, of how we can add them into the system, either to manually or import through one of our many integrations. We went through the checkout process, and we went through the reservations, and then talked about the loan history and the agreement and custody verification options that we all have available as part of the plans here at Reftab. We talked about the locations and how we can create them and use them as our starters, or where your assets begin, and of course, as they should be checked out and checked in, and of course, any type of automations based upon those specific events as well. We also talked about accessories and all the great features that are associated with that, how we can add them, how we could use them, how we could track them, how we can assign or reserve them out, and of course, get them added into the system, all available with that. We talked about software licenses and all the different great ways we can add them, either using our integrations through our identity providers, Entra or Okta, or we can add them manually. But we also talked to really great features that if you're using Jamf or Microsoft Intune, to automatically show the installed applications on that machine. So once again, folks, I cannot stress using licenses enough. If you're looking for a way to track those, either through the multiple different things that we have, either they add them manually or through identity provider or through our integrations, simply great tools in order to keep track of your licenses. We talked about loanees, of course, that single pane of glass to give some understanding of what our loanees and what types of assets or accessory licenses they have. Of course, we talked about our integrations, right? All the great features and tools that we have available along with that. And of course, we followed up and ended up with that billing features, or the reporting options to all get that information out of the system. I'm going to open up to some live Q&A now. So we don't have too many people necessarily on today, so we'll give it a couple seconds here, and we'll go from there. Yeah, we have one question about status labels. Can you briefly talk about the GAN and how you can use them? Yeah, absolutely. Really great question. So once again, status labels are set at the asset level. So here's a status label column that we have for all of my assets here. And this is how we can find them or sort for them very quickly. Setting them up is very simple. We go into settings, and then we go into status labels. And then from here, we do have a little great how-to guide that will walk you through it in order to create them. But in essence, what you want to do is click on new status label. You give it a name. You give it a color, for example, and then ultimately, are you setting them up for allow reserve option and the archive label? So if you set this to an archive label to yes, these assets would not be able to be loaned out, right? Because they're associated with this archive. Now, this is simply a really, really great feature is that, for example, if that computer or asset has gone through its life cycle, you would simply never ever want to delete data out of Reftab, but set them to an archive status themselves. And in essence, what's going to happen is that they're no longer going to be charged as part of your asset quota if you're using that archive status label. And then let's go into assets real quickly again. We go ahead and open up a specific asset. Over here in the upper right-hand side, we click on edit. And of course, here is you can update that specific status label if you want to do that. But we also have many, many different ways to update status labels. You can do this in bulk. And of course, we have many different automation features and options. You can do automatically update status labels based upon specific events and that type of stuff as well. But great questions with status label. Great, great feature that we have here in Reftab. All right, so that's all I have for today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and sign off on here. Once a screen should pop up here. One second here. Whoop. Here we go. Here it is. Here's all important links and information for everybody. At the end of once I sign off here, a survey will pop up here. So if you do have 2 minutes or so, please fill out that webinar. Information or that survey. We'll look to get some information back from you. But as we go forward here in 2020-25, we plan on having more upcoming webinars, so be on the lookout for those. And if you do have any questions or concerns about using Reftab, please reach out to us at help@reftab.com, and we're available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, we thank you for watching the webinar here today, and you all have a great day, and you take care out there. Bye-bye.